All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We have Adedoyin Kafidikwe. Did I pronounce that well?
Yes,
I did.
you did.
It's not true. I did not. Pronounce it.
Kafidikwe.
I tried. She's a senior vice president, legal, compliance, and company secretary at Energy, a leading brand in Nigeria's renewable energy sector with a decade of legal and compliance experience. It is great to have you. I love it when I hear renewable energy. And that's something that's a concept, or should I say a phrase that not many people are conversant with. When we say renewable energy and all about what you do, what does it imply?
Renewable energy essentially just means you getting your power source from something that doesn't deplete the natural resources in the environment.
Oh, wow.
So it's not fossil fuel. So we're securing, keeping our environment safe, as well as still assessing the resources that is at hand to us.
All right, wonderful. It's a tech company and all of that.
Yes.
Challenges do come, legal challenges and all of that. How do you navigate such waters?
So Energy we are a C&I, so we're a commercial and industrial solar industry, solar company, I would say, providing solar resources, solar products to customers. So you'd imagine that in that kind of sector, we would have some regulatory challenges that we have to adhere to.
Yeah.
We collected data privacy is one of the most important factors that we consider, because we collect a lot of customer information. We ensure that our installations we go to people's houses. So that's exposure really. We need to ensure safeguarding our customer information. That's one. And again, so Energy just raised $18 million in our Series B financing, in our Series B funding. So you can imagine that we have a lot of scrutiny as well from our investors. And this was investors from outside the country, so like BII, BEV, which is a Bill Gates funded fund, Norfund, and EDFI. And this Series B funding was led by Cardinals Capitals.
Okay.
Yes, CCA, CCA in Nigeria. Okay. So those kind of things will require that investors have a lot of scrutiny into the business we do, and they have their own obligations in their own countries and their jurisdictions, and we have to adhere to those compliance obligations.
Exactly, those compliance, adhering to them, and then with what you're doing as a tech-driven company and all of that, how do you keep at it? Because you are being disruptive in some ways.
Yes.
And then when those legal frameworks or whatever that, they could be, how do you balance all of that?
So we're very business-minded in the sense that in as much as we have these compliance obligations, right, we also have to ensure that we're having a viable business. And in doing that, we use a lot of technology. We have a lot of compliance tools to ensure that we're keeping ahead and abreast of these compliance obligations. For instance, we're compliant with the Nigerian Data Privacy Act, and that requires an audit annually. So you would know that, okay, so how do we check that? So we have prompters. We have to ensure that these obligations that we have, so from data privacy, from even just contracting, so even just ESG obligations. So like you said, it's clean energy. So we have a lot of environmental, social governance obligations that we have to adhere to as well. So we have all these tools internally that we ensure we
have you ever had a scenario where these things kind of try to box you in, any challenge in that sort of way, and how did you navigate it?
Oh yes, so I say that as a lawyer, you have to be very agile. You have to be very agile, you have to think on your feet a lot. And so agility of mind requires you to always think outside the box. In as much as we are lawyers and we like to be on the straight and narrow, so it's a black and white for most lawyers, right? But as
I don't know, you lawyers are grey.
No, I would say, so we're always on the right side of the law, I would say. We're always on the right side of the law. But as a business-minded lawyer, as a commercial lawyer in a company that has its own business objectives, right? We have to see how to marry those obligations with our business objectives, and I would say that again. And in doing that is ensuring that there is a leadership understanding of the compliance obligation. So it starts from top to bottom. So top to bottom in the sense that our leaders and our organization structure understands that compliance, regulatory obligations, even just standards. So we're importing panels that we have to assemble here. So there's S2N regulations. We don't want to be...
I heard something about that the importation of panels will stop and all of that. Is that?
Yeah, so there are conversations around that, and policymakers, so like the Energy Renewable Association is leading the discourse around that.
Would it be a good thing for us?
So local capacity building is always a good thing. So if you're building local capacity, building industries in Nigeria by trying to build solar assembling factories or solar development factories in Nigeria, that is a good thing, yes. But at the time or at the stage where the industry is
at
now,
the moment, it doesn't seem like we are ready for it.
It's not the most ideal time, and we'll always advocate for a staggered approach. So this can be for a 3 to 5 year plan of how to 100%.
Exactly. So maybe 20% local, 80 importation. Then with every year you drop it down, yes, and then it gradually scales.
And exactly, because the industry is exponentially scaling because of the industry is just. Everybody's ready for solar now. Okay. I was just reading recently that everybody just wants to get alternative resources because energy access is a big problem. And Nigeria has a 2030 energy access target. But the only way you can achieve that is through renewable energy and power from the grid. So how do you marry that with banning this access essentially to solar panels, which would let us achieve that energy access target.
Aso Rock now is now going solar now.
Yes, we're going, and that is a good thing. So that is again leading from the front,
it's a
right?
Good thing, eh?
It's leading.
A lot of Nigerians are not happy with it.
So the major thing about solar, which I think most people should understand, and again, that's one of the innovative things that we're bringing to here at Energy, is that the entry point for solar sometimes is a bar for people, because the upfront payment, if you want to do an upfront payment for solar, might seem as if it's steep. Yeah. But with the way we look at it, and because we want to ensure energy access for every Nigerian as much as possible, we have different financing models. So we have, other than the outright purchase, which some people still exercise, we have lease to own, which means that you can pay over a period of 3 to 5 years. And we have a wonderful innovative tool or innovative solution that we are selling now, which is called Z-Lite, which is a zero down payment for our 5 kVA solution. And that means that you can come in, so far you satisfy the credit criteria for the solution. You can go in the solution without any down payment. It's deployed into your home, and you pay over a 6-year period, a 5 to 6 year period.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Now, AI is a threat to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. In fact, it's there and all of that. And then with you, I mean, there's a lot of, before now, we used to call it deep fakes, and it was Photoshop or whatever. It's almost into everywhere. And then you are coordinating the legal framework of all of this. How do you, in such times as this, where there's the evolution, it's just going like, I mean, people do and say anything. There's that, AI is taking over, as it were. With you, within the legal framework, how are you ready for such a particular time when those kind of challenges, that sort of challenge of AI, of course, people leading with it?
I think AI is a fantastic tool, especially in the industry we are, especially where it's such a data-driven industry. So before you can predict trends, before you can ensure, you can see the energy access needs, because Nigeria, we don't even have that data to show what the energy access need of the whole entire Nigeria is. So the reason why it is
data is a major issue.
So data is a major issue. So in as much as AI comes with its own backdrops, which comes around transparency and biases. So there's algorithm bias that can come with data with AI because there's no human factor. The way we treat it in our end is that in as much as we're using these tools to help us predict the information we need, predict the trends that we kind of need to be able to do our business most effectively, there's also that human factor which is enshrined into our policies to ensure that there's always somebody back end to be able to distill that information that AI. So if you leave it just to AI, it's not going to give it. So some people might be disadvantaged. So for instance, this zero down payments obligations or zero down payment products I said. So the way you can come into the product is filling a form to say that, yes, do I qualify or not? So that form is assessed by an AI tool. But because we know that AI sometimes has its own biases, there's another and limitations. There is a back-end person that would then look through the forms again and say, oh, this person might not have understood this question and might not have provided the best answer. But you still qualify. So we're not debarring. So it's important so that we don't debar even potential customers and people that want to gain access to electricity.
And then what of the case where
energy.
people how influence, or I won't say falsify data when it's like you said, it's an AI-driven system and all that?
Yes.
Does the person at the back end, if you are going to go through AI and somebody at the back end has to check it, why do we now need AI? Because via AI, somebody can, like you said, if somebody doesn't want, people could falsify information or data as well that they are sending into it. So why do we still have to? Why do we still have to use it?
Because you know that AI is not the all in all. So that's it. And I think that's a realization that everybody needs to have. So AI is not all in all. AI is a product of the information you give it. So there might be extreme circumstances that are not factored into those responses that you need to then assess. So for instance, a lot of customers, before they're onboarded to us, we have to do a credit check. So that's another prong. So after you have filled your form, we'll still do a credit check. And that credit check will then give you, and that is done by a reputable organization with the consent of the customer. So
go ahead.
So that will then show that, okay, so you have ticked 2 boxes. You have provided the information, and we have also double-checked that information, specifically the financial information. So that gives you the safeguard. So there's transparency in the process. Customers know why we're collecting their data, for the purpose why we're collecting the data, and the essence of the processing that will be done on that data, which would include that credit check.
You know, for a lot of us growing up here, it just used to be arts and science. If you were studying law, you wouldn't be talking about it. Now you're talking about data. You could even be talking about mathematics and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like everything is now just one. For people who want to be like you, who want to have the kind of knowledge you have, who want to talk like you, who want to understand that there are legal implications to whatever things they are doing, what do people need to get themselves prepared for a career as such?
So a bit of background. So before I got here, I have worked in litigation. I've worked in a small law firm. I've worked in consulting in a big 4. I have worked in a disco. I've worked in another fast-paced startup, and now I am here at Energy. So it's been a journey, and in everything. And I would say, and I say something every day, is I must learn something every day. I'm sure before I leave here, I would learn something. I was talking to somebody backstage, and I have learned something already this morning from one of the guests that will come on the show. So you need to be very agile. You need to be extremely curious about what you do, and what are. It's not just even segmented to what you do and what is happening. So now I can talk about data. The reason why I became a member of the IAPP was because I could see that there was a drive to data, and I'm like, okay, this seems interesting. So how do I garner more knowledge? How do I go for sessions? How do I go for talks? How do I make sure that I'm keeping abreast of the information that can impact anything?
Wonderful. We have to wrap up with that. I like what you're saying. I wish you had more time. There's so much to talk about. But curiosity, I like that. When you're curious about what you're doing, you get to learn more, and then they can be like you.
Yes.
Well done.
Or better.
Wonderful. Well, that's quite some shoes to fill. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Mike.
I know I've gotten something out there.
This is really interesting.
All right. Okay. We'll take a time out now. Stay with us. There's still more to come on the show on the second lap.